Hey YouTube, Coppersan here. Maplefest is just around the corner, happening next month, and people there can already experience old school MapleStory for the first time in a public setting. And while we don't have a release date for the classic world yet, I think right now is a good time to refresh everyone's memory and talk about all the big and minor things that were important when playing old school MapleStory. So here's a quick refresher for everyone. I think one of the main aspects that's very different from modern MapleStory is how important quests are. Due to the very slow grind, quests can offer additional EXP, and there are a lot of quests that offer exclusive equipment and scrolls, of course. For example, NPC Icarus has a quest line that rewards one of 3 exclusive capes, with the second cape being the most sought after one, the Icarus cape boosting speed by 10. At one point the walking speed was increased by 20%, I think that was after Big Bang though, and back then only mages had teleport and Night Lords had flash jump, and that was it for movement. So moving around quicker was very important, and items like the Icarus cape helped a lot. Also, you can get a red whip if you want to move around faster, if mounts aren't released yet when Classic World goes live, and there are various exclusive vanity items that you can get from quests, like for example the bone helm from that horrible quest where you had to collect the nap and death honey, or the level 25 quest Jane and the Wild Boar, which rewards a random attack scroll for weapons. And of course, don't forget about Mr. Wetbottom's secret book quest, which rewarded the legendary sauna rope. There also were various quests at higher level areas that rewarded important glove for attack scrolls, such as the Eels Tower Threatened quest, which was a level 40 quest, and the follow-up quest from Jane and the Wild Boar, which is quite difficult to complete. Checking before Big Bang Hidden Street here, you have to get a moon rock and a mushroom spore. And speaking of boss monsters, keep in mind that most field bosses in old school MapleStory spawn on different timers, so prepare for a lot of channel surfing and waiting. And I mentioned the glove for attack scrolls. Gloves were the only item that you could scroll for attack besides your weapon, if I remember correctly, and work gloves were the most common item to be scrolled because every class could equip this common level 10 item. You can find this item from Sturgy and Desert Rabbits, however you can also craft it by bringing 10 leather and paying 1000 mesos to JM from the streets in Coninck. So when Classic is released and the maker system isn't implemented yet, make sure to visit JM to craft some work gloves that you can sell in the free market. Most of the time newbies are happy to sell their leather to you to get some mesos. I do hope the maker system gets added at one point though, because that way we can create spikes for shoes and warmth for cape scrolls, so Elnath can be a bit easier to traverse. Else you're gonna have to buy the snowshoes from NPC Rumi in Elnath, or I think the boss from Showa also dropped some really good snowshoes, if that's even added to begin with. Another thing to keep in mind is that old school MapleStory uses very different formulas for stats, and you will need to put points in not just your main stat, but also in a secondary stat. For example, for warriors, your main stat will be strength and you'll additionally need some dex. Mages need int and luck, etc, etc. Keep in mind that to wear most gear, classes will need to have both stats. And don't forget about the base stats needed to become a certain job. For example, beginners will need 35 strength before they can turn into warriors. So stats are important, and in particular accuracy is very important as well, mostly for warrior classes, as archers already have higher accuracy naturally, same with thieves, and mages have their own formulas. But poor warriors will struggle quite a bit with landing their attacks if they go dexless. There are certain scrolls that can help you get more accuracy, or of course just more dex. So if you plan on building a dexless warrior, make sure to get enough gear that has enough dex or accuracy so you can actually hit stuff. I think back then most of the common builds were using like maple gear, were using the first anniversary maple gear, but I'm pretty sure that's not releasing right away from the beginning. The different ways your stats are calculated also resulted in one of the old school MapleStory mechanics that a lot of players didn't like: HP washing. Here's an older video from YouTuber Bass and Coffee. He first puts stat points in HP when he levels up, which was possible back in the day, and then uses an AP reset scroll, which had to be bought in the cash shop to remove 1 point of MP. The HP formula was actually a limiting factor for most non-warrior classes who would get 1 shot by bosses or 2 shot by the monsters that they were training on, especially at higher levels. To prevent unfortunate deaths, EXP loss, and to be able to get to higher level bosses quicker, some people would spend a small fortune on HP washing. If this will still be possible in the old school world, then it is something to keep in mind for those who want to fully optimize their character and don't mind spending some managed cash. Another thing to keep in mind, which is very different from modern MapleStory, is that you cannot max all your skills, and some skills are pretty useless. For example, the Ice Lightning Mage can already freeze with their Cold Beam, so getting the slow skill is going to be pretty useless. The same goes for some other skills. For example, the warrior classes get Endure, which increases HP recovery while hanging on a rope, which is yeah, pretty pointless. Also, the warrior classes can specialize in 2 weapons after the second job advancement, and they get different skills for booster and final attack and mastery. So sword mastery, axe mastery, sword booster, axe booster, and final attack for swords, and final attacks for axes for heroes, for example, or fighters. You cannot get enough points to max out all your skills, so it's better to choose one weapon and focus your skills on that. Also, and I'm not sure if this will be in the game or not as well, since there are going to be some improvements to the new classic world, but all weapons also have different damage multipliers depending on the type of weapon and the type of attack animation. For example, a stab animation will deal less damage with an axe than with a sword, but a swing animation will deal more damage with an axe. Swords are pretty balanced from what I remember. I mean, it makes sense, stabbing an enemy with a blunt weapon, you know, that's kind of pointless. Another important factor is elemental weaknesses. Most monsters below level 200 are weak to certain elements, like stomps are weak to fire-based attacks, flame boars against ice-based attacks, coolie zombies are weak against holy attacks, etc, etc. Keep this in mind when grinding or leveling up skills. Third job archers, so bowmasters and crossbowmasters, white knights and mages all have elemental attacks that they can use to their advantage to deal more damage against certain monsters, so you should like plan out your journey accordingly. While you're not questing or hunting monsters into extinction, party quests are a fast and safe way to get a lot of EXP, and I'm pretty sure that once Classic World releases, most players won't have to leave halfway through for dinner or because they need to finish their homework, so get party questing to level up quickly once Classic World returns. And the final thing I want to make sure people think of when they're starting out playing Classic World is to save your potions, as those are way more scarce than you're used to when playing modern MapleStory, and see if items that you find are actually rare drops. For example, a panlet might seem pretty useless for the seasoned modern Maplers, but it's the holy grail for old school enjoyers. We don't know yet how MapleStory Classic will take shape exactly. Some changes are being made to the game to introduce some quality of life. Old school MapleStory is a slow grind, and back then, making mistakes with your skills or AP will be pretty pricey to fix. Just make sure to have the right mindset going into Classic World. It's a different game compared to modern MapleStory and a lot slower paced. It's also more team oriented and grinding together is actually encouraged. Just remember that the game starts slow and new skills might feel pretty underwhelming at first if you're used to modern MapleStory. As of the time of this video, there have been 2 playtests and a public play area will be happening in Maplefest next month. As for now, we don't really have any idea what the timeline is for Classic MapleStory and when it will be released, but I hope we do get a big announcement during Maplefest. I hope this was a good refresher. Are you excited for Classic? Let me know in the comments, and that's all I had for today. Many thanks for watching, and as always, special thanks to our members for making these videos possible. Special thanks to Niels de Coninck, Raar maar waar, Sebastian Hanøy, Caudimorda, Lee, BackSpaceOTI, Ziggy, Flidiot, Knivesu, Cloudfix, Menchaca, Raythius, Betrayal1489, Sylvio, Neto, StrikerElk, Ryaiser, Aryu, MaxBurnHeart, The Passenger, ScottyFlysFast, Only, Spudsy, snafuPop, Dewey, Tran, Kaniwoo, Domi, Kirch-Nehammer, Dexzu, Dantevictory, The Wolf Drake, Lord Fazil, Matthew Dev, Tils Kurspet, DVNCA, and Schwandro. Thank you all so much for watching.